Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for July 31st, 2026. I'm Benji Fisher, moderating, and also present are Gebar Chotzi, who's sharing their screen, Gareth Alexander, Mike Herschel, Ralph Kohler, and Simo Helston. Thank you all for coming. And go ahead, Gabor.
Sure. So this issue is number 3560882 on Drupal.org, and it's don't enable the Olivero theme by default in the standard profile slash recipe. And this is part of a larger strategy application, I guess, applying the core strategy to Drupal core, meaning that core is meant to be a starting point for building ambitious things, and we are removing use case specific solutions from Drupal core. And so previously in this meta issue 3591027, we've already removed the article content type, the page content type, comment module is not enabled as standard anymore. The minimal install profile is not offered anymore in the installer, so there's no screen in the installer anymore to pick an install profile because both Umami and minimal are hidden in Drupal 12. Um, so standard is the thing that you get installed. And also the default slash node front page is not enabled anymore in Drupal 12. So you don't get a node listing that's always enabled in a new site. You can still enable it as a promoted content view, but it's disabled. So why all of that is important is because the last piece that's still in the standard profile that's use case specific, that sort of assumes that you want your site to look a certain way is Olivero, and we want to remove that to suggest users to pick a component-based layouting solution, Canvas or Display Builder or whatever else they prefer, and a component solution that goes with that. And by removing this, it's not in the way anymore of needing to go to pick a proper solution. But where we are right now in Drupal core is so this is Drupal 11.4 is this welcome message in Olivero. This welcome message is not in Drupal 12 anymore and is RTBC for Drupal 11.5 because we don't have the node listing page anymore that this is the default for. So it says you haven't created any front page content yet. So this used to
Gabor,
be,
could you
sure.
zoom in on that a little bit? Or
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
open the screenshot in a separate
Sure, sure,
window?
sure. So
Thanks.
this used to be shown for anonymous and logged in users permanently until a promoted node is added. One piece of promoted node, and this was the front page of your site slash node. But in Drupal 12 and soon in Drupal 11.5, we don't have slash node enabled anymore by default. We don't even have the basis of this page, and there's no requirement to promote anything for something to go away, because in Drupal 12, what we have right now, and or also RTBC for 11.5 is this. This is already in Drupal core, Drupal 12. So we have this welcome to Drupal, which is much shorter than the previous long message, and is also a one-time message. So once you reload this page or you visit as anonymous or do something else, this does not display anymore. And also the user page is the default front page now in the standard profile because that's what Minimal did before. And also we don't have the node page anymore. So we can't put the node listing as a default thing anymore. So that's what we have right now. And the next step is which is the planned final step for 11.5 and Drupal 12 is to also remove Olivero. And this is the chance to revisit this message and whether that was the right choice. And so the current proposal in this MR is to make the status report the new default front page of Drupal core. When you install Drupal, then you end up on the status report. It's going to be your default dashboard. And now this shows up in the admin theme. There's no front end theme anymore on the site. So Olivero doesn't exist. The links are more prominent. They are yellow because that's what the backend team does. Claro in this case. So we have a longer welcome message that explains to you that you install Drupal core. If you are new to Drupal, you may want to restart with Drupal CMS instead, which makes many of the decisions for you. But if you want to make your own decisions, then we have three suggested steps: pick a modern component-based layout tool and theme, create structured content, and set up your front page. And then the rest is the same message as it was before. So basically, we are telling you that if you are here and you don't know where you are, you're probably at the wrong place and you should go to Drupal CMS instead, which has these fancy site templates and use case specific solutions and everything. But if you really want to continue here, then you need to have probably need to have a front end theme if you are not a headless backend and you want to create structured content and set up your front page. And then the rest is standard status report. Yeah. So this is, I guess, the current suggested final solution for Drupal 12/11.5. This is not yet in 11.5, but is RTBC and almost committed. It's already in Drupal 12. And this was the previous thing that we don't have anymore, partly because we don't have the load page, partly because product managers complained that we have this permanent thing that's very hard to undo, and they wanted to have this more ephemeral thing. So reviews welcome.
So let's start off. Does anyone have any questions about the context or want any clarifications?
Uh,
Yeah.
I would have one question. So if Olivero is not the default front-end theme, is there a default front-end theme set?
Yes, Claro is the default front-end theme. So if you go to log in, oh, should use my mouse instead of my head inside my hands. So if you go to log in, this is the normal login screen that I added some CSS so that it looks more like this. So when you visit the front page of the site and you are anonymous, then you get this in the current MR.
And the the default theme is going to change to admin. Right now
Yeah.
it's set to Claro, but
Yeah.
hopefully for Drupal 12 that will change. And basically admin is basically Gen renamed, cleaned up, and some minor changes.
Yeah, it's slightly different if it's gonna be admin, but it's very similar to this
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the admin
Right.
theme too.
So if it's
That's
Gene, it's basically Claro theming.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
front end with this MR is Claro. I don't know if I still have if my site is still working. Maybe it does.
Yeah, the Drupal 12 admin theme is based on Gin and Gin is based on Claro. So probably for a simple thing like the login page, people won't notice a difference between Claro and admin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they will. Yeah, it's pretty different actually. So if you set the default admin as the default theme, and let's set it as the admin theme too, why not? Then and you log out, then this is your maintenance thingy. I am in maintenance, but this is your login. So it's slightly different. It has this box and etc. This is how it's gonna look like by default. But I should go out of maintenance and then we can see the actual front page when, yeah, this is how it looks like. So this doesn't have the login block placed, but when it's made the default, it needs to have the login block placed so that it shows up the same way that Claro has, because that's how it shows up. That's why it shows up on the 403 page because I have it placed there in the MR.
Is that a site running on the current merge request?
Yes, yeah.
Could you use DDEV share and let others poke around at it?
I have a lot of other stuff on this site, so I don't know.
Okay.
Probably not. I have a lot
Um,
of like random contribs and stuff.
Mike, could you get a site set up running the merge request and share it or
I mean, I don't have it set up yet. It'll probably take me about 10 minutes or so. But like from my point of view, looking at it, like this gives us enough context. Like the point that I'm trying to make is I don't believe that like landing on a status report and having a message is very user friendly. I believe that even though we're trying to direct new users to Drupal CMS, many will inevitably land on installing Drupal core by default.
Yeah.
Um, the point that I'm trying to make in the issue, which is a follow-up issue, I'm not trying to block this issue, but the point that I'm trying to make is that I would love to have a designer work backwards. Like right now, we're working from a development point of view where we're saying this is what's possible for development, this is what we can easily do and stuff like that. But we're all very seasoned Drupal developers. I would like to have some type of designer take a look at this and come in with the mindset of I barely know how to pronounce Drupal, and I have it installed for the first time, and what do I want to see? And I want it to look somewhat pretty because Drupal is a premium CMS, and I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but that's the mindset that I kind of want to go in. So, like as far, I guess the point of what I'm saying is that I don't think we need a demo or anything. There's nothing specific that that I want to ask everybody because we don't even have a design yet. And Gabor, I don't know like if you have anything that you want to ask anyone, or if you just want to get a consensus that this is not user friendly. Maybe other people think it is good enough. Um, I'm not.
So, so like part of the problem is, we have well, so we consider the current state of 11.5/12 a temporary state, but the current state is also already not user friendly in the same sense. So this is what we have right now.
Yeah.
And Drupal 12, the main branch, when you install main, you get this when you install.
Okay. Well,
So
slow down a minute. If I look at the last two comments on the issue, they're both from Mike.
yeah.
Um, the second to last says a properly designed welcome page should be a follow-up issue, and then the very last comment creates that follow-up issue. Create proper welcome page for brand new Drupal installation. So I Ralph is waiting to make a comment, but first I just want to ask, can you clarify what is the scope of the current discussion? If we have that follow-up issue, then what are the decisions to be made on the current issue? What do you actually want to discuss today?
So I don't, yeah, I'm not necessarily convinced that that would happen. So it would be nice to land in a position that makes sense because if you look at the where was I think it was on this issue where the discussion happened. Uh, so Laurie raised that it should be rendered as a one-time message after installation, and then Pam, I think, raised the same thing either here or in a comment somewhere. It makes more sense as a one-time message. So Laurie as a Drupal core product manager and Pam as a Drupal CMS product manager, they both very strongly felt that it should be a one-time message. And because originally I had like a whole standalone page that would be added into the system module or something that would, I don't know if I have the screenshot here anymore, but it used to have one of these very many screenshots that I haven't named was the standalone page. And I got pushed back on that from both product management sides, I guess. Um, and the if you have an ephemeral message, I don't think that you can put much in an ephemeral message to be useful. It needs to be small. So I think we need to convince the other product managers that that makes sense to have a non-ephemeral message so you actually have something useful. Or we need to write a whole quick start page in the guide that we can point to, which is one link then or something instead of a instead of a mid-size ephemeral message, we have like maybe a one link to like read this one pager about Drupal core. That's an option. But
Okay, so
but the reason I'm not convinced that a proper welcome page will be designed is that both product managers so far said that it should be an ephemeral message and not a landing page.
Oh, okay, but that will be the discussion for the follow-up issue that
Yeah,
Mike
yeah,
just
yeah.
created. I'd like to give other people a chance to ask their questions. Ralph?
Thank you. First, I've pasted a link to a site that has checked out the merge request, and I did a clean
Mm.
install, admin.
Yep.
I haven't tried it, just set it online. And in regards, could you please scroll up? Are you already, is a screenshot?
Which one? Where's
To the status report message. To the new, that
yeah.
ephemeral one, yeah. Um, just one feedback from my point of view. It's just a blob of text, and there
Yeah.
are no real actionable CTAs here. What to
Yeah.
do? You have to basically comb through that blob of text and figure it out. And if someone is not familiar with Drupal and all the concepts raised there, then there are also Drupalism there and all the things that it conveys. It's overwhelming and probably potentially lead to failure or frustration. And just one initial thought in that regard. In general, the idea pointing to the status reports page, I consider it good, but why not? At the moment, there is the warning and the error section and the checked section, but why
Yeah.
not basically add another section there with basically for newly installed sites that at the moment, there are 3 steps. Pick a modern component-based layout tool or theme and create structured content and set up your front page and basically add 3 steps that it basically are a to-do and warn the person going to the site, hey, those things are still have to be done and at the moment are not fulfilled yet. And that way it is basically a checklist to go through for the person setting up the site. If they are not familiar, it's helpful. For others, it's at least a reminder, and the problem also, aside having that blob of text and making it ephemeral, is also if someone has a short working memory, a small working memory, and that thing is gone, that is trouble for them,
Yeah.
and leads into work to figure out, search where I find the steps I have to apply, and it leads to frustration. And if you have basically everything in place, make it more clear and actionable to the people, it would be more helpful. But at the moment, I consider adding all that important information in a regular status message and also in the blob of text, I consider problematic from my point of view.
So
Yeah.
let me
So
let me just point out one response to what Ralph said, which is that if you're asking for something more like a call to action rather than these links, then I think you're agreeing with Mike that we want a properly designed and somewhat pretty page rather than just putting it in the status message.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
would not necessarily have a dedicated page aside a status report page and introduce something completely new. Because that kind of steps or tasks that are necessary are more in the vein that are suitable for a status reports page, strictly speaking. Because in that context, you get warnings for to-dos, what you have to do, or errors and things you have to mind. And that way, all those 3 steps are in the same ballpark from my perspective.
okay, so
yeah,
keep
that's
the
it.
status page as the default, but add something to it
Yeah.
rather
Yeah,
than
that's
something
exact.
totally.
That's the reason why I added it, because these are the kind of things that you need to do after install.
Yeah.
And there's also new things that you need to do after install are here. But this already exists in Drupal CMS. So if you have Drupal CMS, then this is what it does. So you have create content and choose recommended add-ons and create content type and etc. So it has sort of this to-do list of the main things that you want to do that are actually actionable things, but this is a whole dashboard of stuff that uses the dashboard module that's not in Drupal core. So yeah, so that there so this sort of exists in Drupal CMS, And the other thing is that I considered linking to, the I think the user guides seems to suffer from the same problem pretty much. Is that you're here and then you have like a lot of concepts that are explained, like what's a distribution, what types of data is handled, how is it licensed, what are regions, and what
But
are
there's no real quick
model
start guide on this
extensions.
page.
I haven't found it if there is.
Yeah.
But even like I tried to link to like some kind of the direct things about creating content, but even if you go to creating content, then it's like you need to understand adding a content type and the concept of reference fields and a lot of things. So there's not really an easy place to send people off to like here's a quick start because this is a very in-depth guide, very detailed, a lot of good information, but it's all very scary. It's a lot of stuff. I
I
think initially.
I don't think at this point we should ideate on like what should be like on the page.
Yeah.
I think as seasoned developers, we might not be the best people to do this. I w- I I I think what it comes down to is like number one, like I don't want to block your issue, Gabor, because I know that it's time limited and or and important. But I think there is space to push back against Lori and Pam on this in that other issue. And I think if we come up with something that says, hey, we can do this better, I don't think they're going to be opposed to that. I put a couple screenshots in the UX Slack for that I found from some competing CMSs that are something better than this.
Okay, I'd like to give other people a chance
Okay, sorry.
to contribute because Simo and Gareth have both been waiting for a while. Simo, I think you were
I
first.
didn't. I wasn't paying attention to that. I apologize, Simo and Gareth.
No, sorry.
So looking at this page, if we're assuming that the person is new to Drupal and needs to know the information from the status message, how does this page communicate to the user that the warning message is persistent until it's changed and status message will disappear? So how can the user know that if they are new to Drupal? So
Uh,
and
for these both of these will go away if you
ah,
reload the page. This warning below here they will remain because this is permanent, but all of these black ones are ephemeral.
I think some of the warnings, or is it the errors that keep stay on the site?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
some things that until you resolve it, like insecure site, etc., that stays around, but these will
Yeah,
not.
yeah, but that one, the first warning message looks like it's something that is not resolved. So
Yeah, but
I
that
think,
it's one time because all necessary changes to your files have been made, as coming from the installer, and then it will go away.
yeah. So
Yeah,
then,
I logged into the site Ralph set up, and I don't see either of those messages. I just see
Yeah,
the standard status report.
yeah.
yeah.
But anyway, so the user doesn't know that they are going to go away. And if the user does
Yeah.
something that they want to do something and then reread it, there needs to be some way for user to get the message back. So that's basic Nielsen's basic heuristics kind of point to that direction. That so there needs to be undo for closing that message.
Yeah,
So
Well,
I certainly agree with that point.
yeah, this is the page I had before that was, I just updated this and updated this when it still had the front page. That well, we didn't have the slash node anymore, so what it would need to say is you haven't set up your front page yet, and then all the rest of the text. And this is the also the change from, so this is basically a diff from 11.4 to what I had previously before Larry and Pam told me to have an ephemeral message. That this needs to say that you add a piece of content and send the path of that as your front page, and then this will go away. But this is also a bit awkward, is that you need to add a piece of content, set it as the front page, and then this default front page would go away. It's also a magic trick it's hard to explain. and then we need to expand this original text with more stuff about themes, etc. So I see where Pam and Laurie was, that this is kind of a still the same similar magic trick that we had before. And this is less of a magic trick, but is also very ephemeral. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yes.
Simo, anything else? And Simo's then
Yeah,
Gareth.
yeah, mostly that to know what will happen, so that it should be able to. So this is sometimes what new user should be able to come back to, or it shouldn't. Like if there is important information, and of course, status message shouldn't ask questions, but that's not the text content is not relevant now, I think.
Mhm.
Gareth?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to echo what everybody else is saying about the ephemeral message, because I think what's going to happen is people are going to get the warning and go and click that handbook link. And then as soon as they click back, there's a good chance that that message will be gone. If they happen to refresh that page and then all those links, there's 12 links there. I don't know how anybody's supposed to remember the 12 links if the message goes away.
Yeah.
Um, I was wondering, and I know that there is a dismissible kind of warning that I think, I don't know, is it web form installs? When you install web form, you get a message that just hangs around forever until it goes away. But if there's a list, like Ralph was saying, I guess it's about having a kind of a checklist that you can then dismiss each panel. Go, right, get rid of that. I've done the home page. Well, what's next? Oh, I need to set up a content type, or I need to go and read this. Oh, I've read that. Dismiss. What else is on my to-do list?
Yeah, I think the Drupal CMS dashboard, there were designs to have a dismissible checklist, but it was even too complicated for Drupal CMS to implement the dismissible checklist. Even with all of any of contrib usable, I'm trying to find the design, but it's on some Figma somewhere. Uh, so I don't think that yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
an even bigger feature development
yeah,
phase.
and but the checklist module itself might even be better because at least then boxes can fold down if they are actually ticked and they collapse, and then you can reopen them and see what was in there. And maybe this
Yeah,
will.
but that's for Drupal CMS though. I don't think it has any chance of getting added to core anytime soon.
Well, if nothing else, it's a plus one for staying away from an ephemeral message.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have consensus on that.
Okay.
Ralph?
I would have one question and one additional note. Um, that welcome to Drupal message we're seeing right now, who is seeing that? Logged in users going to the front page?
So this one is only seen by the person that installed Drupal, and only seen for the first page load. If they reload this page, or if they, go somewhere else, come back and load this page again, then it goes away. So this
Then
is
they are
seen by the person that first installed this Drupal site only for this one time.
Is that through the UI, or does that come up if you do a Drush install as well? Or
I think messages come up as Drush install, unlike pages that reset. I think they do, but I haven't tried.
okay.
Ralph, did you see that message when you first logged in? I didn't.
I haven't logged in at all. I've just provided the link
Oh,
and haven't tested anything.
okay.
I logged in and didn't see it.
Huh.
Yeah. Because yeah.
Yeah, this is
Um,
only at the end of when you install in the interactive installer, then this shows up at the end. It comes from
okay.
standard profile.
Okay. Um,
Hmm. Can I
so
just say that this threw me an absolute curveball yesterday? I was trying to teach some automated testing stuff, and the tests were all based on basic page and blog
Huh.
page. I installed, and I was like, "I'll just get the latest version. It's fine." I think it was, I don't know if it was 11.5 was installed, and I was like, "Oh, there's no content types. What's going on?"
Yeah, I've certainly run into that too. So,
Um, I'm
so
just
I'm getting the idea that the scope of this discussion is how can we push back on the recommendation from the two project managers or project
Product.
owners. Um, so we all agree that it should not be ephemeral. Um, so the first step is to say, well, give reasons for why it should not be ephemeral, and then um, how long does it last? Is it always going to be there on the status report page? Does it go away based on something? Do you click a checkbox somewhere to make it go away? So if it's not ephemeral, then what does govern how long it stays? So is that roughly the scope we should be considering for this discussion? We're about halfway through the meeting at this point.
I I like that.
Okay. Ralph, go ahead.
just wasn't finished yet before. Just wanted to add one thought and note about the two screenshots Mike posted, and looking basically at the WordPress one, they're providing basically those steps, and I want, and also in the context of the user guide link and that overwhelming in-depth detail it provides, Gabor voiced. I wonder, would it make sense? And because if you just have, for example, those steps, write your first blog post, in a Drupal context, it would be install your component-based theme, create structured content. And would it make sense, instead of pointing to in-depth guides, in the first step, provide a brief 1 or 2 sentence primer, what, for example, install a component, choose a component-based theme entails, and if someone has no idea at all, then goes there to the in-depth guide, but keep the person trying to get into Drupal and in the welcoming step, not leave the context of the admin UI, and within that context provide a brief primer what a certain step entails and what choices have to be made, so they don't need necessarily to go one step further and leave the admin UI. Just as a thought.
Hey, Gareth.
I've been thinking about that and I've now lost my train of thought now. Um, I'll maybe lower my hand, and if I remember, I'll put my hand back up. Sorry.
Okay, so maybe we should back up a step and think about the audience for this page. And it seems to me there are two audiences. One is the user who actually wants to install Drupal CMS, and we just have to tell them that. So we need a really clear call to action. What Drupal CMS is, what they're going to get with it, and lead them there. And the second audience is the people Mike keeps describing, us. We're the experienced developers. We know what's going on. We
Yeah.
don't want to get too much in the way. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe we're familiar with Drupal 11.3 and we haven't noticed yet that, like Gareth said, that there are no longer any content types in the standard profile and so on and so forth. So maybe we need a little bit of guidance. But that's a very different audience, and
Yeah.
um, and we want to sort of have something for each of those two audiences.
Yeah, that
I
was exactly my thinking, yeah, when I was writing this, because first of all, it's like you're probably mistaken and you should have started with Drupal CMS is mostly the if you are a person that needs to read this text, then you're either the person that should have started with Drupal CMS or the person that expects more of Drupal core because you know Drupal core from before. And those two audiences need to be taken care of, yeah.
like from my point of view, I don't think we need to even consider the us here, because the point is to keep people in Drupal. And if we have an experienced dev and they have Drupal installed, they already know what they have, and so they're just going to ignore it. And I think that's fine. I'm going to ignore it every time I see it. Um, so like, I don't even think we should take into account the seasoned dev role. I think it should be 100% tailored for the newbie role, and that could involve putting them to Drupal CMS or something else.
I think for the newbie dev, I don't think that we want to explain Drupal to them here because they like picking a modern component-based layout tool and theme as the first step to even get started to
Yeah, I
display
get
anything
that.
in Drupal is super complicated for a newbie dev. Like, how would you know if you want to use Canvas or a display builder or
Yeah.
paragraphs or whatever? How would you explain it to them? Like, there's no way. So just
Right.
send
So
them to
part of the
Drupal CMS.
strategy for pushing them to Drupal CMS is to scare them away from the alternative.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I mean, we
But
don't have to.
the reason that we are doing this is to make Drupal core easier to build with, so that the builders need to undo less things and they don't accidentally have a node listing dangling around on the site, and they don't need to like remove a bunch of content types and tagging and commenting that they will never need. So basically, the idea is to have more of a useful default install profile that minimal was, which is super bare, super basic, and less opinionated than standard was. So we are basically getting the two together into this new standard, but it's going to be much more manual stuff that you need to do to get what you want. But if you want to have a headless backend, then you never need to have a front end theme. So why ship with a front end theme? And if you want to have a modern site, then you would want to pick Canvas or a display builder or whatever anyway.
Gareth.
I remembered what I was going to say.
Yay.
It was triggered off your question, Benji, about finding some arguments for against using the ephemeral board, which I think was the first kind of thought that we had as a response. And that is ultimately there's a lot of really good information here, and I don't think all of it can be consumed in one go. So having something that even if you do manage to get two or three links followed, and then you read them and you kind of come back and you go, oh, wait, what's next? If the message is then gone, then it's all that information is just lost, especially if it is going to be, these are the steps, because it's not a one click and you're done thing. So even if you go, will I restart? I'll go follow that and read about CMS. Oh no, I don't want that. Come back. What have I got to do next? I've got to pick a modern. Oh, where's that link gone? It's gone. Yeah, so that's the reasoning for not going with the ephemeral messaging.
Okay, Ralph.
Just one thought in regard of the paragraph about restart with Drupal CMS instead. I wonder if for someone new to Drupal and barely having the knowledge level or the technical expertise, reading something like that, isn't that basically a one or two steps after it all should be basically communicated to them? So basically have it on the install page on Drupal.org, the download page, explicit warning or recommendation there, and also have that recommendation in the first step of the installer, instead of after the install is actually done. So yeah, I know that here, but I'm just wondering why putting the same message again if the warning was before on the download page as well as, and in the installer there is probably not. I haven't looked at it, the web installer in a while, but just thinking it's just an additional paragraph and one or two sentences. Is it necessary there?
You
So
don't
you're saying
necessarily
that
know the same person downloaded it, though.
And so you're saying that in the Drupal installer, add a like an interstitial page or something or a warning like, are you sure that you want to install Drupal core?
Yeah, just
Maybe.
provide basically a heads up there instead of let someone go through the complete installer process.
Uh,
It is okay that somebody learns it and understands it, but still, after the conquering the install process, then reading, oh, the thing I've installed isn't the thing that is recommended for me.
yeah, you go through all of this composer paint and everything, and then you're like, too bad, go back.
Yeah, yeah. Go back to step
Oh,
one.
yeah, yeah. Well, the by the time the interactive installer shows up though, then you've already like you've gone through like you have a database set up and you have Composer and everything. So I don't know if that point really saves you that much pain anymore. It's like if you like super fast now to install Drupal core, like few seconds to install it. It's very fast. So I don't know if that we can save you there at that point really. So that's what this attempts to do is like this is for advanced users and developers. If you're advanced, use the building blocks, etc. Start from scratch and customize. Then you go with core. But otherwise, you go with CMS.
Okay, Simo?
Yeah, and I still think that part of the content for that message, like "Welcome to Drupal," is that you install Drupal core. Those are kind of part of like those are statuses, but a lot of that is not something that I would regard being a status. So questions on status, suggestions, let's meet. It's not status, so it's kind of a misusing the concept, I think.
Yeah, this is like a call to action to meet you and connect. Yeah, I agree with like that. It doesn't. It's not necessarily status. Yeah, yeah.
So I guess I'd like to consider that in the context of the intended audience. Um, is is that last line, check out upcoming events? Is that something we want to show to the person who just got started?
Heck yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, 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 totally. Yes.
s- so if it's not a status, doesn't belong in the status message, doesn't belong on the status report, what do we do about that? Do we put it there anyway, even though it's not a status? Do we rebrand the status report?
I think what where this discussion points to is this gonna be probably a standalone page that's like /admin/welcome or something that's permanent. And it will have like a big box with a screenshot of Drupal CMS that says you may have wanted to install Drupal CMS. Check it out. It has all the goodies that you don't need to manually pick, etc. And then below that we'll have this itemized list of stuff.
Okay, and designing that
Mhm.
page would be the follow-up issue that
Yeah,
might
yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah.
put it.
Yeah, that this would need to be provided by standard profile somehow, the page, which is a bit fancy, but because this is only for stand I mean the minimal profile will not never display this because that's for really know what you want to do in Drupal. Uh, and also Drupal CMS will never want to see this page because they have their own that includes a list of events and all kinds of other call to actions and stuff. So yeah, so this
So
is for
the minimal profile is still there and can be installed using
with
Drush
Drush.
or
Yeah.
DNR,
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. That's
but through the admin installer, you would always get standard.
standard. Yeah, yeah. And Umami is also not offered in Drupal 12 anymore. It's still there for performance testing, but it's not offered to the user. It's hidden. So This is the only option that they have when they install Drupal core. There's no option. So the screen doesn't exist to pick Umami or minimal or standard in Drupal 12. That doesn't show up in the installer because this is the only one left. Uh, yeah.
Forgive me for going off topic, but Umami is also really good for multilingual testing. Yeah, most
Yeah.
of us don't deal with, or many of us don't deal with multilingual sites in our day-to-day work. So it's really convenient to have something we can install quickly and have two languages.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but the Umami is now in the realm of it's a pre-built site template that happens to be in Drupal core, but it should really be canvas-based and have a component design. I tried to convince several people to convert it to Canvas and be a Drupal CMS site template because then you can actually customize the layout of pages, etc., properly instead of what it has now, which is a lot more hard-coded stuff. But that's very off topic.
Simu points out in the chat, some of us don't deal
Yeah.
in single language sites.
Yeah, I know the feeling, yes. So I think the question is, do we support getting this in punted to an issue, or do we want to have maybe resurrect this one as an admin/welcome, not in the Olivero style, obviously, but this is the longer version of the message. Uh, and then have a designer look at it and make it nicer. What's the recommendation for going forward?
I mean, my thought is we should come up with a list of requirements, send it over to a designer, maybe do some hallway testing with some developers who might not be Drupal developers. And I think what we'll end up with might not be perfect, but it's going to be better than we have with Olivero, which honestly, the Olivero thing happened very quickly.
Yeah,
Like, we didn't go do any testing or anything like that. It's just like I wanted something there that said something else besides welcome.
yeah.
And we don't have to make it perfect, but I think we can make it a lot better is where I'm going at.
And once it's there, it can be tweaked.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah, I guess so. For this issue, I can try to, more resurrect this one and just make these adjustments and have it as an admin/welcome and make that the front page instead of the status report. And then you still go away once you change the site front page to something else, then they will basically go away.
So I guess if you want to push back, then the thing to do would be to have some sort of admin/welcome as part of this issue, and then use the follow-up issue to improve it.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
So I guess we're all agreed that we don't want it as a status message because that would make it ephemeral. So one suggestion was to add something to the current status report. Um, and a pushback on that is that a lot of the message in here isn't a status, so it doesn't really belong on the status report, but it's still something to consider. And the alternative is a dedicated page like /admin welcome. So do
Yeah.
people have arguments in favor of either of those, or just want to give a thumbs up to one or the other? Go ahead, Ralph.
In regards of adding a dedicated section to the status reports page, it was only about the actual task and basically paragraph keep going with Drupal core. Our first three suggested steps are I would thought only put those on the status reports page, but maybe the rest, or that basically that welcoming, because nothing of those, the rest of the paragraphs is about really status message, like let's meet, check out upcoming events. That is, strictly speaking, have something a dedicated welcoming page, maybe that contains also those three steps as tasks, but move those 3 tasks also to the status report page so that they are always available, and the site builder or admins can see those tasks are still open and remaining and a to do. Something like that, maybe.
Okay, so a few of these things that are statuses, like you haven't set a front end theme, that could be just added to the basic status report. Um, create structured content. If you don't have any content types defined, that's maybe a warning. And set up your front page. That could also be a warning. Okay. Um, and then those might not be on the dedicated welcome page we're building. And I guess Mike's point earlier was that we don't really need to pay attention to the second user, the experienced user. They know what's going on. If the goal is to guide the inexperienced user, that what they really want to do is install Drupal CMS, then probably less is more is the right philosophy, and a simple page with a nice call to action button, restart with Drupal CMS rather than a link, it is going to work better.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if all of I mean, yeah, probably the people that need the little tasks, they will need a front-end theme. But there's going to be people that will never install a front-end theme when they're Drupal like headless backend site, and that they don't need a front-end theme. So for them, like this lingering to-do item may be this like distracting, but only if they come here to check if we end up adding it. Yeah.
I do wonder if we're completely ignoring the season dev just as a kind of a wee nugget to them, maybe just a wee link to the change log. Oh, things might look different here. Just check out the change log. So that you can see here, you go, wait a minute, where's all my content types? Oh, we'll go and have a look at the change log. All right, it's all been removed. It wasn't a borked install. It kind of half completed.
I think that could be po postponed to a later tweak, perhaps the follow-up issue.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I guess that needs
Um,
like probably
I,
visually distinct areas for the seasoned people and the new people.
I think the goal at this point is to get something good enough to give an idea, something that looks a little nicer than a status message. And we are getting close to the end of the hour. 3 minutes left. So anything anyone wants to say in the last few minutes? Um, so Gabor, Mike, I assume you can work with the advice we've given. Um, I'll post a minimal standard comment on the issue with a link to the usability meeting, which will have the recording. Um, anything else we need to do as a follow-up?
That sounds good. I can work with the feedback. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have stuff to do today, so I won't post that comment until maybe 12 hours from now. Um, good. Okay. Well, thank you all. This was interesting. I think one of the advantages of coming to these meetings is that we get to see previews of the big changes in store, and this is certainly one of them. Um, and I'll be back next week, and I hope a lot of you can join then.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Yeah,
Yes.
everybody have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.